This is a training education video focused on conventional deadlift accessory workout. So you can see here I'm actually starting with what's called a hard-up curl, and I'm doing this on our adjustable 45-degree hyperextension. So you can actually adjust this anywhere from 90 degrees all the way to straight up. So I have it set at this angle because it's the right type of resistance for body weight for me. So the awesome thing about this exercise is that it keeps the knee end of the hamstrings in a locked position. So you actually get extension and contraction through the hip end of the hamstrings. When that area is weak, especially in conventional deadlifts, people will struggle with the mid-range of the deadlift. So as the bar is passing their knees, they'll kind of stall out, or they'll have trouble getting it from the knee to the lockout, and that's due to weakness in being able to pull the hips forward into the bar. So a hard-up curl you can do on a machine like this, you can do it on a GHD, you can also just kind of pin your feet on the ground like a Nordic curl and just rotate through the hips. But this is a great exercise for building the hamstrings as related to a conventional deadlift. Now you can see that I'm pairing that, I was actually doing these back and forth, with a banded elevated deadlift. So this actually is set up, I'm purposely starting where my shin can be slightly angled forward, where I get very minimal quad help, but I don't want it to be a true isolation like RDL where the shins are totally vertical. The reason why is I want a little bit of the transition. I want when the bar comes off the ground that my body has to fight to find the vertical shin, which is exactly what happens when you come off the actual ground, not the blocks, in a conventional deadlift. So this is forcing my hips to re-find their position every single rep. Now you can come back here and see the hard-up curl, and from this angle you can see the main goal I'm looking for is to keep my lower back neutral. So I don't want my spine and my lumbar area of the spine to flex or bend at all. I'm trying to have all rotation, all pivoting happening through the hip joints, and that is going to help further isolate the hamstrings. So one of the really cool things about this exercise is the hardest point of the movement is when your body is the lowest, like right here. That is going to be more isolated to the hamstrings. As I would raise up, my glutes can start to help, but I actually weigh less as I come up. So this is a really cool way to get the top end of the hamstrings without spinal loading and more isolative without the glutes being able to take over as well. So these I typically will do sets of 5 to 15, it depends on if I'm doing a light day or a heavy day, and I almost always pair them with lying hamstring work, where I'm working the bottom end of the hamstring, or a deadlift variation like you see in today's workout. Here I'm going back to the banded elevated deadlifts. What you want to focus on in this view is that as I come up, I'm rotating and tucking my hips underneath me. I'm wanting to contract and hold the lockout through the top of the hamstrings and the glutes, not my lower back. So I'm not trying to pull my shoulders horizontally behind my hips. I actually want to stand up, tuck my hips, and lock my body into a very neutral position. I don't want to over-contract my lower back. I want the workload to be in the hamstrings and the glutes. Now you can see from this side view, I'm also going to be kind of pulling my stomach in. So you want to be tucking the glutes, pulling the stomach in. As hard as you're squeezing your glutes, you want to pull your belly button inwards as well. This really helps use the abdominal wall, hamstrings and glutes to lock your hips into that neutral position. And this is going to save a lot of lower back stress, and it's actually going to build better aesthetics and strength capacity when it comes to hamstrings, glutes, and core and midsection. So for this variation, I usually do 5 to 10 reps. The focus is on quality, not on weight load. Now after those, I went and did some lying hamstring curls. I was doing some single leg eccentrics. So I'll come up with both legs, make sure I have a good pause at the top, and then I lower down. It's roughly about a 3 count. So I hold and then lower 1, 2, 3. And you'll see I'm alternating back and forth between the legs. This is just a really cool way to work on strength of the hamstrings. So typically, our eccentric, the lowering portion of a muscle under weight load, is stronger than the concentric portion. So if you maximize the eccentric portion, you get more actual muscle stress and damage. So that is actually why I'm doing this variation. It's just a little more of an aggressive version and more strength related than a typical variation of hamstring curls where you're doing normal speed concentrics and eccentrics. So this is a really cool one. Typically, again, 5 to 10 reps per leg, and this one's deceptive. You'll die very fast, so make sure you can control that eccentric. Otherwise, if it's momentum involved and it's just falling, you're not getting a lot of the muscle stress that you'd actually want. Then to finish up, one of the exercises I did was a Bulgarian split squat, kind of dead stop deadlift. So I'm keeping my shoulders kind of out over top of my leg, and I'm working on just driving up out of the bottom. This helps with unilateral hip weight acceptance. So what that means is as the kettlebell breaks the floor, my hips have to find braced and balanced position every single rep. So this is just really good for identifying if there's any hip imbalances, which could show up in weakness and or lower back risk in a conventional deadlift. Then the last exercise was a staggered stance kettlebell swing. This is a weird movement, but it's really good for, again, identifying if you have any side-to-side weaknesses within your hips, and this will help to work to balance those out. Again, these last two movements were really just to find if there is any weaknesses in there unilaterally, just to make sure I give them attention and get the body's attention to actually address and fix those issues. So a really cool workout. So did the hard up curls, the deadlifts, then I did the hamstring curls and let myself catch my breath. And then I finished with a pairing of the Bulgarian split squats and the staggered stance swings. Now, what was neat about this is if you go to our website, you can see all the options there. One is a free education videos link. So you can go to our website, click on that link, and then you can actually submit a request for a training education video topic. And that's actually where today's came from. Somebody went ahead and clicked on it. They gave the name, email. They asked for this topic. So thank you very much to the person who sent this in. If anybody wants to request that, that is available on our website. So make sure you check that out along with all of our other programming information, a lot of free information, a lot of good stuff on there. So the website is www.brutalirongym.com.